No, it's really interesting with you because you know you've been on a lot of records that I think a lot of people know, and ads I guess as well, and they'll know your voice.
Yeah.
But because it's the dance world, there's this strange thing where a lot of it's very anonymous and faceless, and you'll even be the lead singer in a way on records where you're not even in the video and you're not really named other than a kind of little featured thing.
Absolutely.
And that's a very strange thing about disco, because on one sense there's the sense that disco is a celebration of the great performer, you know, pouring their heart out, you know, about rejection and defiance and everything. And on the other hand, it's the home of the DJ who is anonymous himself or herself and prefers to keep the singer anonymous.
It is, yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously, I want to bring back the way it was before. You know, I want to bring back the Donna Summer era,
Yeah,
you know, and the sort of, you know, the Emotions era when, you know, people like that were big name stars and you just couldn't deny it. Right now, I think the way things are and everything with this, you know, with the economy, etc., I think it's a great time to bring it back.
Do you think? Yeah.
I think so. I think people don't want to think about, you don't want to stress about, you know, what's in your bank or what's not in your bank.
Do you think that's one of the reasons why disco now is getting a better sense of itself because of the recession and the idea of disco music being the perfect music for when people feel down and repressed?
I definitely think so. I think that's one of the reasons why it's coming back. But I also think it never really died. I think that some people, you know, they've still got their Chic albums and they've still got their Sister Sledge and they've still got, you know, they've got their ticket that they went when they went to see Donna Summer perform wherever it was, you know. I think that's still there. And I think now that it's sort of, you know, the sort of revival's appearing again, the new disco revival, people are going, oh my God, you know, and they're starting to get their old record collections out again and they're starting to look to their vinyls and sort of, you know, the idea of it, just let your hair down and have a good time.
And what kind of disco fan would you describe yourself as? A kind of traditionalist? I mean, what kind of disco music is your favourite disco music?
The world of disco is quite deep and I'm still learning, if I'm really honest with you. I mean, you know, I love the sort of Barry Whites and the, you know, the Motions and the, you know, the Amy Stewarts, and I love the way they wore, what they wore. I love Donna Summer, I think she's amazing, and that whole kind of era for me, I just think that's the sort of where I see myself.
In a way, rock music recently has gone through a nostalgia for those periods, if you like, and it seems to be that dance music too is going through a kind of nostalgia for when you knew where you were almost, you know.
Yeah.
And to an extent, some of the trends were and what's happened with the internet, people are losing their place. So it's like disco, and the return of disco is a sense of people remembering when you knew where you were with music and what it was. There was a single and there was an album and you went out and you enjoyed yourself.
When you heard the backing vocalists, they were singing live. When you see the brass, they're performing live. And they look fantastic as well. Yeah. You know, and you know, the strings, you've got the string element as well, which you know, you can't have disco without strings.
Yeah.
But
why is that? Why can't you have disco without strings?
It just,
is that the yearning thing again? That kind of,
I think it is. It's the passion, isn't it? There's something about strings. It just brings it to another level, doesn't it? Why it's new disco, as I think you bring the modern elements now. Obviously, it can't ever be as what it was in the 70s, but like it can still bring back that rawness, that, you know, the strings, the brass, the, you know, the feel of the live performances.
So what was the ultimate reason you decided that you'd had enough of just being the backing singer, the faceless featured artist, and you thought, no, I'm going to do this myself? Because that's almost a disco theme in itself, isn't it?
For me, I think you have to see what it takes to be at the top of your game, to know what you're letting yourself in for, so that when you do get the opportunity, you appreciate it. And now I feel like, you know, I mean, I went to the academy and I was a bit sort of, you know, like most people who leave an institution like that, a bit sort of cocky and think, oh yeah, I could do whatever I want, you know. And I went into the music business and I found it very tough, as everybody does, you know, it's the music business. But I learned a lot of lessons on the way. And I think, which is why it's taken me a while to get here, to be honest. And I think it got to the point where I was quite happy to continue doing what I was doing, if I'm really honest with you.
What,
but
just being a session singer?
Just session singer, backing vocalist. I was earning a good living. I was travelling around the world, had a great social life, very, very happy. But it started to become uncomfortable. In some intense, in terms, people I was working with made it, you know, you get their egos made it in difficult, because what I always felt was people always knew what I was capable of. I just didn't know. So I'd get people who just made me feel, you know, that I wasn't worthy of whatever I wanted to do or whatever, made me feel like I wasn't good enough and stuff. And I think, well, I've worked with this artist, I've worked with that artist. I know I'm good enough to do it.
Of the best ones, what was it you learned from them, and what you realised that you had to do to come forward and be, you know, someone who could be known by the one name?
The ultimate. I mean, I don't think it gets much better than the late James Brown. Just in terms of professionalism, in terms of, the band weren't, you just could not get a foot wrong. Everything had to be, it's perfect.
I've always thought the idea of having a great voice, having a great soul voice, if you like, is ultimately about a form of ego, and that you want to show off. And that, you know, the idea that you had that strange other life, it's now you can burst forth and really, you know, get to grips with what it is about being a great singer, which is to say, ultimately, it's about me. And this sound I have is about who I am.
Absolutely. I mean, I think one of the things about being a backing vocalist is you kind of lose a little bit of that element, you know, because you have to, that's part of the deal. You have to leave your ego at the door. It's not about you. You have to blend in. You have to, you know, sometimes you push right at the back of the stage, you've got your little black frock on, you can't even be heard. You're singing at the top of your voice, can't even be heard because you're not mixed in properly. And no one, you know, you're not the focus.
And what's it like finally seeing your face on the sleeve and seeing yourself in the video? I noticed you put the ball in all the time as well, the disco ball.
Oh yeah, yeah, just to keep reinforcing that point.
Pretty clear what's going on.
Yeah, it's fantastic. There's no comparison, if I'm really honest, from being, you know, it's lemonade meets champagne, you know, in terms, you know.
And do you worry now that maybe this is just one of those awful sort of fads, and that in a year's time you might wash up, and new disco was just one of those things that was a temporary summer kind of fling, and people move on. And would you still keep your faith with this kind of thing, even if that happened, and still kind of hold to the idea that it's really what you do and what you want to do, regardless of where the temporary kind of fascination is?
Yeah, I would still keep doing it. You know, but I also think that there's a lot of die-hard fans out there, and I've only just realised that since doing this project. People that just come out from the woodwork, just like, you know, you just get these comments on YouTube, and you know, wow, you know, finally we've got some great music's coming back again, great disco music's coming back again. You know, bring it on. You know, when's the album coming out? That's the responses I'm getting. So I don't think it's a fad. I just think it never went away, really. I just think it sort of went a bit dormant for a while, and people tried other things. Whatever happens, I'm still going to do it because I love it. I mean, I've got my dance roots, obviously, you know, because what I did before, but at the same time, I've got my disco roots now as well, and I love it.
Okay, great. Thanks, Shena.
Thank you very much.